This is a presentation of William Shakespeare by Katarzyna Kuczko. Who is he? Well, William Shakespeare was an English poet, a playwright, and an actor. He was the best-selling fiction author of all time, writing over 30 plays. He is still highly acknowledged through his written work. From the beginning, Shakespeare was born on April 23rd, 1564. This is a projected birth date since there was a baptismal date on record of April 26th, and it is said that a child who was born is baptized 3 days later. He was born in Stratford-upon-Avon in England to the parents of John Shakespeare and Mary Arden. At 18, he married Anne Hathaway, which was said to be 3 months pregnant at the time, and they had 2 daughters, Susan, born in 1583, and Judith, born in 1585, who lost a twin brother at the age of 11. The early years. There's some known education about William Shakespeare. He attended King Edward Grammar School, where he learned Latin and Greek, and he went to London to complete an apprenticeship role to become an actor, and he did not attend college due to the fact that he married so early. The lost years. These are the many years in which information is missing or unreliable, which last from 1585 to 1592, and there is no historical record. There are, however, suspicions that William Shakespeare worked as a schoolteacher, studied law, traveled across Europe, or joined an acting troupe that was passing through Stratford. Some of William Shakespeare's work is tragedies, comedies, and histories. A lot of the well-known tragedies are Romeo and Juliet, Othello, Macbeth, Julius Caesar, and Hamlet. Hamlet. It was a tragedy, and the first performance was in 1609, and he was the Prince of Denmark. Some of the main characters are Ophelia, Hamlet, Claudius, Polonius, and Laertes. An overview. Dark winter night at the Elsinore Castle in Denmark. The play starts with a ghost coming onto the stage. It resembles King Hamlet, which is noticed by watchmen. Prince Hamlet is brought in, and the ghost speaks to him. And the ghost declares that he is his father's spirit, and he tells Prince Hamlet that he was murdered by Claudius. And he orders Hamlet to seek revenge on the man who took his throne and married his wife. And then the ghost disappears at dawn. Prince Hamlet is going to avenge his father's death. He is a contemplative and thoughtful man and awaits to do so. He enters into a deep thought of madness and begins with his famous speech of "to be or not to be," and this represents an eternal fight between suicide and seeking revenge for his dad. The famous quote goes on to say, "To die, to sleep no more, and by sleep to say, we end the heartache." This is him saying that if he just ended his life, that he would not have to feel any of the pain that he is feeling. The fight. The sword fight begins, and Hamlet gets the first hit and says no to drinking from the king's goblet. Gertrude does take a drink, and she dies quickly from the poison. Laertes succeeds in wounding Hamlet, but Hamlet does not die of the poison immediately. Laertes is cut by his own sword and reveals to Hamlet that Claudius is responsible for the queen's death, and then he dies from the blade. Hamlet then stabs Claudius with the poisoned sword and forces him to drink the rest of the poisoned wine. Claudius dies, and then Hamlet dies immediately after achieving his revenge. This is a scene of Hamlet and Claudius fighting, and there's a quote, "Revenge is not justice, it is rather an act of injustice on behalf of justice." So it's a perfectly fitting quote for what Hamlet is doing for his father with fighting for him and getting revenge for his father. Let's get critical. I would be angry too. I couldn't imagine losing my father. And the play is set around family values, and family values are very strong. And it has hit Hamlet that he has to do something to make that family value even stronger. How would you feel if your father was killed by your uncle? The major plot is revenge. And Prince Hamlet finds his plan to avenge his father's death to be very difficult. He thinks that it would be easier to move over and just to take his life and not have to deal with any of it. I mean, imagine the emotions that are flooding his body. He's very angry. He is revengeful. He's filled with a lot of aggression and he's very confused as to why it's happening. He's very lost now because he's missing his father, and there's hatred. I mean, the list can go on and on. Hamlet is faced with a daunting task. Not many people can kill somebody in the line of revenge. He was compelled to face these problems of family duty, morality, and ethics. There's some Freudian critics that say that Hamlet's motivation is related to the psychodynamic of this father mother son relationship. And Hamlet is disturbed by his um, jealousy for his uncle and what he has done, and Freud claimed that all sons long to do this themselves, is to kill the one that's standing in between the son and the mother. Which is why Prince Hamlet presented with a speech, because he was very confused and he didn't know what to do and he was very unsure of himself. Hamlet is in a fight with his complex internal behaviors, and he has major indecision issues, and he's very reluctant to act upon the murder of his father. William Shakespeare died on April 23rd, 1616, and he leaves behind a legacy of 38 plays, 154 sonnets, and two narrative poems, which are still used every day in classrooms, across nations, and we learn very much from these.